great day, attractive thinker. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. Dr. Toni Hatton here. You know who I am, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. We're here to support new and aspiring entrepreneurs, people who have visions, dreams, and goals, but you lack the mental support, the mental healing, the mental clarity, the mindset maintenance. It happens to the best of us as entrepreneurs. We struggle with some things, moving forward, and the attractive thinker is here to support you with these mental resources so that you can expedite your process and get a lot more accomplished and go further faster. Welcome my co-host Tichet Bradshaw to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Happy Mindset Monday, everybody. We made it again. We get to do what we never did, go where we've never gone, and have all that we deserve to have in this lifetime. It's such a great day to be alive.
It is a great day to be alive. I love it. Attractive thinkers, I trust you have your notebooks handy, your attractive thinker notebook and pen, because we're going to be dropping some gems today because it's not what it looks like. I want you to think about that. It doesn't matter what you're going through. We've all been through all kinds of things in our lives, situations and circumstances. As we know by now, it's a part of life. It's a part of life. Does it hurt sometimes? Yes. Does it frustrate us? Does it delay some things? We feel as though it does, but it's not what it looks like. We hear phrases like hindsight is 2020, and I was doing some research recently on vision, and eyesight is the sense that we use 80% of the time. We have sight, we have hearing, we have taste, we have touch, we have sound, but we rely more on our eyesight than any of the other senses. And we talk about it's not what it looks like. What that's saying to me is there are various ways of seeing the same thing. In my first book that I wrote, Don't Be Afraid, He's Preparing You, I was sharing a story, and it was an imaginary story. I was giving them an example of something. And I say, two people left work going to lunch. And one of them, they both were attacked and their purses were taken or something like that, right? So they get back to the office. Actually, the one of the friends didn't make it back to the office. The ambulance had to come. She had a panic attack and they had to take her to the hospital. The other lady runs back to the office and she's just so excited because she's grateful that she walked away with her life. Same situation, two different perspectives. They saw this at one experience two different ways and they got two different outcomes. So when we talk about it's not what it looks like, it calls for us to assess how we're viewing things. You always hear me say it's not what you're going through, but how you're viewing it. That is a real deal. And it's a real issue when it comes down to viewing our opportunities as challenges. What can happen in our life when we keep seeing our opportunities as challenges? We keep praying for things, an opportunity comes, but we don't see the opportunity as an opportunity. We see it as a challenge. So we go back and we pray again. So when we say it's not what it looks like, it calls for us to reassess not what we're seeing, but how we're seeing what we're seeing. Tichet, talk to us today. Talk to our Beyond the Break community.
Absolutely. What we're seeing is everything, right? Having vision is everything because when we see a thing, that's how we determine it. That's how we perceive it is how we receive a thing, right? So when we're looking at life and we're going through life and all these experiences happen, based on our perception is how we'll respond and how we'll make decisions. So it's so important for us to get full understanding about what it is we're going through. So when we say it's not what it looks like, we're saying there's two sides to these stories.
Mhm.
There's a negative side and there's a positive side.
Mhm.
Which side are you focusing on right now? Which side are you connecting to? Are you connecting to the side that shows lack or that shows fear? Or are you connected to the side because it hurts? You say, well, I knew this was going to happen. I just knew it. But that situation could actually be the entryway to your abundance or to your new life. that situation that you hated the most could be a defining moment in your life, like that Dr. Tony always say. It could be one of those moments where you needed that moment to expose some things in your life. You know, we often think, okay, our friends have done something, right? Our friends have done something and they stabbed us in the back, and all we know is it hurt and I lost all my friends, right? But we don't see how those friends didn't have your back in the first place, and maybe it's time for you to gain some more friends. Maybe it's time for you to gain another home. Maybe it's time for you to get in another relationship, get another job. So we never know why we lose the things we lose or go through what we go through. One of the things that I have dealt with coming into myself was the season where I lost everything. I lost my unborn child, my home, my marriage was on the rocks. A lot of things were going on at the same time, and it almost took me out. I kind of wanted it to because, like Dr. Tony will say, you know, I wanted to lose my mind, but can't. I wanted out. I was done. I was done with it all. I was tired of losing. I was like, why does this always happen to me? You know, and then fast forward now today, I look back at and see that that was the birth of something. That was the birth of the real me. That was there to help me to expose it. And, you know, if I would have said that at that time, I might have said, well, I don't want to go through this. I'm tired of having to be the strong one. I'm tired of having to go through this stuff. I'm tired of being the one that always have to, you know, pull and push and get everything done. I'm tired of being that person. I never asked to be this. I never asked to be that. But you don't know what your soul asked. You wanted to know yourself. You are here to understand who you are. You're here to have these experiences so you can understand the earth and how it works and the power that resides within you. And though you may not know you wanted this, you wanted the outcome, you wanted the exposure, but it could only come through whatever you're going through at this moment. There are some times where exposure will come through peace. There's sometimes exposure comes through love. It comes through many different ways, not just the negativity. It comes through many different ways, but how we see a thing makes all the difference in the world. So when I was back in that time, I couldn't see it as me entering into power. All I saw was the pain. All I saw was I lost. All I saw was this is not fair, and how could this happen? And I had faith and I was walking through and I was living right and it's not fair, da 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 da. And I had all these reasons why in my head. I had all these reasons why I should not be going through what I'm going through. But in this day and age, I'm thankful for every tear that I have cried because all those tears added up to something. It wasn't just that situation. It
Mhm.
wasn't just about that hurt and that pain at that time. It was about what came out of it, the person I became in the process of it.
Mhm.
So, though we may be going through stuff, if we can just sit and look that there's more to the story than what you think, you'll see that it's not what it looks like. You'll see that it's adding up to something. It's helping you get yourself back to your place of power. It's helping you to reach that next level. Sometimes it's a threshold. Sometimes what we're going through is a threshold, a closing to one chapter and an opening of another. And that threshold may not be easy, but if you can understand it and endure it and understand there's more to the story than what I can see, then when you are through enduring it, you'll get to a place where you'll get to see the fruit of that thing that doesn't make it better, but it makes it worth it at the end. Back to you,
Mhm.
Dr. Tony.
Mhm. You know, Tachet, you mentioned something about um it's not what it looks like, and you mentioned the multiple perceptions that we can have, and you said there are two sides to this. And when you said that, immediately I thought to share with the attractive thinkers, you have a choice. So this is an opportunity to highlight your power. you do have a choice. Now, sometimes just like thoughts, you can't control what thoughts come to your mind, but you can control which ones you focus on. So it's just like these life circumstances that come our way. We can't control sometimes the things that we have to experience in life, but we can control how we respond to it. And how we respond to it is very significant. I don't ever want you to minimize how you respond to it. I don't want you to minimize your response based on how big you think or how impactful the circumstances. Your response has just as much impact on that situation. Now, you may not be able to change the situation, but you changing how you respond to it determines whether you survive it or not. So how you respond to it really does matter. It not only determines how you respond to it or not, it also affects the people's faith who are watching you stand and face this thing or go through this thing. Their faith is being affected because, so many times in my life, I knew that if I cracked, then my family was done. I knew it. I knew that if I stepped away and said, I'm not going to deal with this, or I can't handle, or y'all go ahead and deal with this, I knew that there was nobody else that was going to step up and take that role. I knew that they were watching me. And I had to, and when my kids were little, and I had to live long enough to hear them as adults say that. It's like, Ma, I don't even know how you did that. I don't even know how we survived that. I was scared, but at the time they didn't even have the words to articulate. Their little minds couldn't even come up with the words to articulate how they felt. So it's not what it looks like. You have to have an attractive thinker eye in order to see beyond what is being presented to you. See, when you strengthen that mental muscle and your vision and you lock yourself into what you want out of life, you get the clarity first. You decide, is this something I want out of life? Is this the path that I want to take? Do I really want this? You get real clear that this is what you want and not what somebody else wants for you, and all that stuff that we have to go through to get crystal clear. Then you have this commitment. You're committed to it. You've already weighed the pros and the cons and the disadvantages and the advantages. So you're committed. Now you're committed to this thing. So whatever obstacle you face along the way, you don't tuck your tail and run because you already made the commitment. You're already clear that this is the path. So whatever's on this path, I'm going to have to fix it, face it, overcome it, do something, move it out of the way, something. The thought to retreat and go back is not even an option. It's not even an option. That's why it's important to have commitment in place. That's why it's important to have clarity. Clarity is key, because when you don't have clarity, as soon as the devil show up, as soon as the obstacles show up, you're going to turn and go the other way. And then you're going to believe all of that negative self-chatter. Yeah, you're right. I shouldn't have tried to do that anyway. I shouldn't have tried to accomplish that goal anyway. Maybe this is not for me. You're right. I should have went the other way, or I should have took another path, or I should have let so-and-so have this opportunity instead of me. See, all of that stuff isn't even considered when commitment is in place. Commitment doesn't consider that nonsense. Commitment doesn't consider the negativity. Commitment doesn't consider your unworthiness or that you're not good enough. When commitment is in place, that stuff doesn't even have enough power to pierce the energy and the atmosphere that you're in when you're trying to accomplish something and you're moving forward in your life. So when we talk about, it's not what it looks like. When you're presented with something, you can test this and see how it works. You can see how true this is for you. The next time you're presented with something that disappoints you, that's a good one right there to share. Disappointments and frustrations. You can learn a lot about yourself when you get disappointed and when you're frustrated. You can learn about you can see how you respond to frustrations. You can see how you think. What are the first thoughts? Jot this down to your attractive thinker notebook. What are the first thoughts that come to your mind when you're frustrated? That is very important. You want to capture that. You don't just want to think that thought. What is the first thing that you say out of your mouth? What's the first thing that comes out of your mouth when you're disappointed and you're frustrated and your heart is broken, or somebody let you down? What do you say? How do you feel? What happens in your energy and in your emotions when somebody lets you down, or disappoints you, or doesn't have your back like they say they would, or you get an unexpected phone call? What happens in your energy? I recently experienced that, and I know what that feels like. And we have to capture that. My energy dropping just by something that I heard. That's a real thing. What can I learn from that? I can learn that, not only I have to guard my heart, but what if it gets in? Not just guard my heart, but guard my hearing. But what if it gets in and I end up hearing it anyway? What am I supposed to do with that, especially if I have something to do and I'm up for, videoing, or I have to sing, at an event. I'm on my way out the door, or, I have a client on the phone. I'm getting ready to go into a coaching session. What do I do when something slipped in on me, into my hearing, and my energy dropped? I have to have mechanisms in place in order to get my energy back up. Now, for me, because this is not my first rodeo with disappointment and frustration and energy drops and managing and guarding my heart and all that stuff. It's just a simple shift in a thought for me to get me back into the energetic space that I need to be in order to produce and serve the attractive thinker community. So it's just a shift in a thought. And one of the thoughts that, this recent experience that I just had with the energy drop, one of the thoughts that, shifted my energy was, and it came right out of my mouth. That's the thing. That's why you have to have these practices and your attractive thinker tools in place. You have to fortify yourself. Get your tools. Visit the attractive thinker.gear. We have audios there. We have affirmation audios there. We have books there. Get your tools. And we have so many speaking conversations that I did and messages that I share that will provide you with the tools that you need to stay fortified and built up. Now, one of the thoughts that I used to shift me back into my energy, my energetic self, was whatever is going on in the world, it doesn't have to be going on in my world. Yes, that did happen, and it's very sad, and I'm sorry to hear that. And I pray for, the people that it happened to. But because it happened in the world doesn't mean it has to happen in my world. And you have to have that perspective, because it's really not what it looks like. There are other factors involved in that, experience that I know nothing about. And the mind is an entity all in its own. It will create monsters out of situations. It will create horror stories out of situations, and have you gone down and believing and seeing that path, or have you fearing what you were getting ready to do? You had all the confidence in the world, and you felt like you can take on the world, and you were ready to create your dream and idea. And now all of a sudden you heard this thing, and now you're pulling back. I want us to understand that it really is not. It really is not what it looks like. So if it's not what it looks like, what are we to do? One of the things I would like to share with you that I do is, I don't just choose another path or choose another thought. It has to be a higher thought. It has to be a good thought. Go through your Rolodex of good thoughts. And I'm working on something right now that I'll be sharing with the Attractive Thinker community. I'm really excited to share this with you. It's a powerful resource, and you'll never run out of resources. You'll never run out of thoughts. You'll never run out of mental resources and support and strength after I share this with you. It should be available to you within the next 30 days, and I'm really excited to share that. But you scroll through your thoughts, and you choose a good one, and you'll know it's a good one because it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good. If it's something that you hear that drops your energy and makes you feel not so good, then also it's something else that you can hear that will make you feel good. So you have to shift those thoughts. You have to scroll through and find a thought that raises your energy back up. Now, when we say it's not what it looks like, you get to choose how you see a thing. And the choice that you make, how you see it, you want to choose a view that can create a great outcome. Don't choose a view that will have you stranded, standing on the corner somewhere like a bag man or a bag lady, or down in the gutter somewhere, or destitute, no food. The mind can do that without your help. The mind can always show you pictures of you in a really bad way, you not making it. The mind is good at that all by itself. It doesn't need our help. So you want to choose a thought that shows you in a better light, shows you in your best light. Choose a thought where you're healthy and happy and whole and enjoying yourself, having fun, eating some of your favorite foods and staying healthy, of course, or, enjoying the sun, laying out in the sun. Choose those thoughts. Now, choosing those thoughts takes effort. Those thoughts don't come naturally. That's why you have to have an attractive thinker eye. Those thoughts do not come naturally. You have to choose them. And then you have to continue to think about them until those other thoughts just vanish. They just float away. So it really is not what it looks like. What it is how you want to view it. And it's your choice. You get to choose what this thing looks like. You might say, well, Dr. Toni, I'm faced with a situation right now, and I don't know what it is that you want me to say or how you want me to view this or what you want me to do, because it is what it is and it's not good. So how can I apply what you're saying to that? What I'm saying is, if it's not good, then make it good. If it's not good, then put your good power on it and shape it and mold it into something that can work for good. Just because it doesn't appear to be good doesn't mean you can't use it for good. I want you to understand that you are never left without a resource, because you are creative. You have creative power. You can create it into what you want it to be. Let's say it was a phone call and you got some, disturbing news or something unexpected that you had to do, that you forgot to do or didn't even know that you had to do. So you said, wow, that's just not going to work. I need a babysitter to run out and fix this thing, or I have this engagement coming up. I can't make that appointment to go fix this thing. And if I don't fix it, it's just going to affect other things and it's just going to be a hot mess. So now what do I do? Well, again, it's not what it looks like. Let me share something with you. I was working on what do I want to say? It was a product. I was working on a product for the attractive thinker community. I was trying to figure out a word to call it because it was actually a recording, a program. That's what I wanted to say. I was working on another program for the attractive thinker community that I could support you in a specific area. And I'm in my zone, the resources, inspiration, revelation is coming to me. And I'm really excited because I know it's going to make a difference in your life. And the phone rang. Right in the middle of me, in the zone, the phone rings. And on the other end of the line, this person is hysterical, like, oh my God, you have to do something, Toni, because they're gonna lock them up. They're going to jail. And I'm like, wait, what happened? What are you talking about? Who's going to jail? And they started talking as it just happened a few minutes ago. And da. I said, what happened? What happened? And in me talking, my son saw me in my zone and writing and creating whatever, and he stopped and looked at me. See, that's what I'm saying. This stuff affects not just you, it affects people around you. So he stopped and he's looking. You know how you are at the house and the phone rings and your expression changes and everybody stopped eating and looking. They were like, what's going on? So that's what happens. So I'm sitting there I stopped what I'm doing. I actually turned my whole back to what I was doing. And I'm now, focused on this energy that's coming through this phone. And as the person began to continue to talk, they says, oh my God. I said, what is it? They said, I'm so sorry. That was an old message. An old message on their answering machine that they had received. The message came in months ago, and they just happened to have heard it that day. That was an issue that happened months ago. And they had me concerned and getting ready to put my shoes on to go figure out what's going on and who I need to help and all this and that. And he said, I'm sorry, hung up the phone. And my son said, turn back around and focus on what you were doing, because there's some power in that. He said, you always used to teach me, Mom, that pay attention to when you get disturbed or distracted or something else gets your focus other than what you were focusing on, because there's something in there that people need. Whatever you were creating, it's going to be fantastic and amazing, because that just did not make natural sense. I was like, where did that come from? Who does that? And that was a prime example of, it's not what it looks like. What if I had responded to what they say is like, oh my God, don't say no more. I'm on my way out the door. So here I go running. Running to what? Nothing was going on. Running where? There was nothing going on. So it really wasn't. That's a prime example. It really wasn't what it looked like. So that's why you can't allow people, I talked to attractive thinkers about this years ago. Years ago, I discovered this mantra for myself, or this, posture for myself. I no longer will allow other people's drama to become my drama. That's your emergency. I can't let your emergency be my emergency. And when you make that decision and you take that stance, it saves your heart. It keeps that guard over your heart, so your heart is not exposed and being yanked all over the place, all because of somebody else's issues. You have to hold on to your peace, because it's not what it looks like. Back to you, Tichet. I could say more, but back to you.
You said a whole mouthful. That distraction thing is something else.
Yes.
And sometimes it is a distraction. You said that was an old message.
Mhm.
That was a distraction to distract, to stop you from
Yeah.
whatever it is you were trying to do,
Mhm.
which means there was power in what you were trying to do, and to end, not to end, but to take away as much power as you was about to give out.
Yes.
That distraction came in and boom.
Mhm.
Now the thing is we have good hearts, right?
Mhm.
And when we have a good heart, our hearts want to help people. We
Yes.
want to be there for others. We want to do for others what we want done for ourselves.
Mhm.
But sometimes when we are open like that, and we want to help others, we allow their distractions to become our distractions, like you said.
Mhm.
So when I heard you say that, I said, well, we have to protect ourselves from the inside and from the out. Protect not just our back and our heart. We have to protect all sides. And
Mhm.
how do we protect ourselves? We have to, number one, increase in discernment, because everything that's for everybody is not for you. It
Mhm.
is okay for you to not have to allow all the world into your world.
Yes.
Like you said, just because it's going on in their world, it's not mine.
Mhm.
You get to allow certain things into your world. If especially if you feel that you are a creator of your experience,
Mhm.
you are allowing other people and deciding who to allow into your mind space. But we have to watch who's taking up our mental space and what is taking up our mental space, because what's taking up our mental space can determine how we respond to life that day.
Mhm.
Everything that everybody's going through does not have to lay on your shoulders. It
Mhm.
really doesn't. You can simply be compassionate for
Yeah.
people, and you can be understanding, without allowing it to sit on your shoulders. You can go in and give an answer, especially if you're an empath, especially if you're a healer. When we hear something, we want to get out there and we want to make it happen. And we can hear what people got going on, or what answer they need, without having to carry it with us all day to the point where it blocks us from
Yeah.
doing what we want to do. It's possible to do that. Now, the way to do that is, again, discernment, again, listening to your spirit, staying the course. Like you said earlier, you said we have to have commitment. Commitment to what? You have to commit to your happiness. You have to commit to you winning. You have to commit to your goals. You have to commit to your power. You have to commit to your peace. You have to commit to yourself. Before you go out there committing to anybody else, first commit to you. Commit that you're going to do the best that you can with every moment given to you. And when a moment comes and a situation arises, how can you handle it the best way you can without allowing your power to be drained, without allowing yourself to take on the weight of the world? Because there's things that we don't see, that they're not showing, that are good. But we're seeing the bad over and over and over and over again. It's sometimes some people think it's easier to see the bad because we think we're protecting ourselves, but we're not. We're hurting ourselves. So when we're sitting there imagining the negative part of a story. Well, if I sit here and I do this, then that's going to happen. And like you said, at the end of the story, you somewhere in a corner, you're allowing and choosing to see the negative part of that. And then your body starts to respond, whether you know it or not. Your body starts to respond to that negative thinking. And next thing you know, if you're not paying attention, you're allowing yourself to think yourself sick, to think yourself sick. Now, we say you can think yourself sick, but not realize you can also think yourself well. There's a lot of power in your thoughts and in your spirit. If you commit to yourself and allow yourself to have discernment, allow yourself to stand strong in your power and your goals and your standards. You don't have to let everybody in. Just because somebody knocked on the door does not mean you have to let them in. Just because you can don't mean you should. There's some things you're going to have to say no to. There's some things you just got to kind of lightly glance over. Every story, every movie, everybody that has something going on, you don't have to take it and then you be that person in that movie. Because all of us are playing in a movie. All of us are, we are the main characters of our own universe, of our own movie. So if I'm watching your movie, I can look at your movie from the outside and see what's going on. I can then give you my view of what's going on. But just because I give you my view, don't mean you have to take it. Again, you have a choice. When you take that view, you can look at it and say, is this good for me or is it not? Is this a good, opinion or not? You don't have to take it. Dr. Tony, I remember I used to have people that would come when I was going through stuff. They would come and tell me all of this stuff. They would be like, you should get this and you should do that. And so at that moment, it sounded right. My spirit knew that that was not right for me. It sounded like the normal thing a person would do. But for me, that just wasn't it. So I stood 10 toes down in my own decision, willing to look stupid at the end, because I believed that the positive was gonna come out, and it did. The positive came out. I committed to winning. Whatever that looks like for you, you got to commit to winning. You got to commit to yourself. You got to allow yourself to breathe. And thinking those things does not protect you. Thinking the negative stuff does not protect you anymore. You say, okay, I'm gonna sit here and when I get in the car, I'm all right. I got this example. I have been afraid to drive since I was young, all the way up until I had a baby, right? I was like, I don't want to drive. Why? Because when I was a teenager, I went to a psychic, and the psychic said, you're going to die in a car crash, right? And I took that and I said, oh, that's true. Why? Because I didn't have anything else to combat that. I didn't have any other thought that went against that said it wasn't true. That was the first time I heard anything like that. So I would not drive. So I'm going on, I went all the way up until I was like maybe 23, 24. And I was pregnant, and my child's father, he said, um, you can't you can't take my baby on no bus. I want you to get your license. And I said, but I don't want to get a license. I don't want to drive because I'm going to go into a car accident. And he said, what makes you think you're going to go into a car accident? This was in my early 20s, right? And I said, this was 20 years ago. Okay. And I'm still here, glory to God. But she said, so you're believing that he said you're believing you're gonna die in a car accident. And I realized at that moment how many times I played it over. Every time I wanted to go driving to see the world for myself, I played with that psychic say. So what you plan in your head, what you have recorded and allowed yourself to play over and over again, is affecting you in more ways than one, right? So I allowed myself to think about me getting in that accident as a way to protect me to not get in that car. And it wasn't protecting me. It was hurting me. It was preventing me from going further and further. I was letting that negative thinking allow me, I was allowing that negative thinking to stop me from getting in the car and going as far as I wanted to go. And I said, I could have easily thought another thought. You ever hear that term? You better think again. You better think again, right? And I should have, because just because she said it, but I believed at that time I was young and naive, and I believed at that time that woman was really psychic, and I said maybe she saw it. But here I am, and let me tell you something. I got in car accidents. I have gotten into car accidents, but I didn't die, and they're not one of them, and I wasn't hurt, and they're not one of them. None of those car accidents took me out the way she saw it. So you have to be careful of who's prophesying over you, who's coming to give their opinion of you. You got to get fake prophets that come over and want to tell you certain things to slow you down. People have their own agendas. So just because somebody says, that's another thing, Dr. Tony. Just because somebody says nice words to you, oh, you're so wonderful, you're so powerful, you're this, you're that, does not mean they have your back. It's not what it looks like. You got to go deeper into the actions of what they got going on to see they don't have your back. You got to look at what would possess them to say that opinion to me. What would possess them to think I would want to hear what they just said to me? Just because somebody is nice to you and smile at you, don't mean they have your best interest at heart, and that's hurtful to hear. And you say, well, I'm not going to trust anybody, and I'm not going to love anybody, and I'm not going to let nobody in. Again, that's that negative scenario that we play in our head as a form of protection, right? That's not protection, because not only are you blocking out the haters, you're also blocking out love. But when you do it with discernment, you'll know, okay, you'll know, number one, people come in your life for a reason and a season, and you have to let that thing flow. Like we talked about last week, you got to let the power of letting go, you got to let that thing go. So if somebody is walking out of your life, then it's making room for something or someone to walk into your life who can go with you to that next level. So when somebody walk out, that's okay. If you lose something, you have to understand that whatever you lost does not mean that that's the end of you. It means that that's the new beginning of you. So you know that there's some things in this life that can't be replaced, right? You might, if you lose a family member, some of those things can't be replaced. But there's some stuff that can, like your home. You say, I lost my home, I'm gonna be homeless, and you see yourself in a hotel, and you go find any old thing to go stay in, because that negative story in your mind, that negative story told you, if I don't take this place that's trashy with all this stuff, I'm going to be in a hotel. No, that story is hurting you more than it's helping you. You're not protecting yourself, you're preventing yourself from actually receiving what's really for you. So there's some things that go out of your life that help you to go through the threshold to the entry point of another level in your life. So when we have a scenario in our head, we have to assess it. What is the real root meaning of this? And I say root because when we say it's not what it looks like, we're saying get to the root of every thought, everything, every person, every being, everything that's in your life. Assess it. Get to the root of it. Get to the root of your why. Get to the root of, how people say, well, how are you? We have to ask, why are you? Get to the root of your why, because your why will help you make decisions that will help you understand why you're going through certain things. And then once you understand why you are, and you understand who you are, how you are, will come easy after that. Back to you, Dr. Tony.
Awesome. Awesome. So fantastic and amazing. Attractive thinkers, I want you to understand that you can shift your thought in any moment. That's what came to me as a result of what you were saying, because I was like, okay, so we know that we're overcomers. We know that we can make it. We know that it's not what we're going through, but how we're viewing it. We know these things. So what about practical application? What do we do when we're faced with these kinds of situations? Shift the thought. Shift the thought, and you can shift it. You said you better think again. Remember how you used to say we better think again. So that's what we're saying to you today. Think again. If you come up with a thought that is not supportive and doesn't make you feel good in the face of adversity, you better think again. You better think attractively, because there are other thoughts than the thoughts you're thinking. I want you to understand that we have resources for new and aspiring entrepreneurs for mental healing, mental strength, and mindset maintenance at theattractivethinker.guru. If you need clarity, book a clarity session. www.clarity.theattractivethinker.guru. Let's spend some time together working through your ideas and give you some direction, some next steps, some clarity, some focus, and some support. Tishet, tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, the visual encourager.
Absolutely. You can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers, visionaries who desire to move mountains but just need help lifting that heaviness so that they can create a new vision for themselves. Go to my contact us page, put in your information, let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you so that you can live out that new life you just created with fulfillment and with purpose and with fire. Again, that's www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Awesome. Attractive thinkers, you always hear us say, my life's work, that's to make your life better. Remember, it is not what you're going through, it's how you're viewing it. Think attractively. We'll see you soon.